I am honored to call upon the President of Israel, Reuven Rivlin. Welcome to the President's residence. Madam, the President of the Supreme Court, Justice Miriam Naor, the Chairman of the Opposition, Knesset Member Yitzhak Bushi Herzog, Minister Derry, Minister Bennett, party heads, Knesset members, distinguished ambassadors, the President of the World Jewish Congress, Ambassador Ronald Lauder, and his wife Carol, the President of the IDC Herzliya, Professor Uriel Reichman, the Chairman of the Herzliya Conference, Professor Alex Mintz, and his wife, the Director General of the President's Resident, Harel Tubi, members of the Steering Committee, distinguished guests, welcome to all of you. Yes, Israeli society is changing its face. With these words, I opened the speech I delivered, marking a year since I took office. With the slide behind me, I asked that we place a mirror before Israeli society and point to the cultural and demographic earthquake that Israeli society has undergone in the last decades. In this slide, we can see the new Israeli agenda, which expresses the transition of Israeli society from one made up of a clear majority and minorities to a society made up of 4 sectors or tribes, main sectors or tribes, which are becoming more and more equal in size: secular, modern Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox, and Arab. We must speak the truth. This is not something that was expected. In the new Israeli agenda, while the relationship between the national majority and minority is preserved with regard to Jews and Arabs, there is no such majority when it comes to the other basic issue we face: rights and responsibilities, religion and state, service and defense, education, ethos, and identity. 4 tribes, at least 4 competing different stories about who we are and what we want to be. I laid out then 4 basic principles for the new and needed partnership between the different communities, in a reality in which each of them has a sense of being a minority under pressure or attack. The first was the sense of security of each sector, so that its soul, its basic sense of identity, would not be engendered or threatened. The second was the shared responsibility for our destiny, future, and the security of the State of Israel. The third, equality and fairness. And the 4th basic principle, the most challenging one, is the creation of a shared, and I must say the responses to my remarks were diverse, to put it mildly, a shared Israeli identity. The reaction my words received was extensive and diverse, and I listened carefully to the different responses and learned much from them. One criticism in particular I would like to address in brief. After my speech, and in particular on the background of the facts that I presented, which grouped all the citizens of Israel, Arabs and Jews, in one statistical line, there were those who labeled me a post-Zionist. To those, I would like to say today, I am a Zionist because I believe in the need and the moral right for a home and a nation state for the Jewish people, as was decided not on November 29, 1947, but in 1921 in San Remo by the League of Nations. I am a Zionist because I believe that the establishment of the State of Israel is the purest expression of the return home of the Jewish people to history and to responsibility for its destiny. Do I expect or demand that all citizens of the State of Israel be Zionists? No. About 2 weeks ago, I visited a religious Jewish high school in Jerusalem. I participated in a meeting held there between religious, secular, and Arab students, together with Minister of Education Bennett. At the meeting, one of the Arab students said to me, and she said, I am a citizen of the State of Israel, and I want to identify with the state in which I live. But between the flag and the holidays and the anthem, which I respect, what can I do that my soul yearns, but it is not a Jewish soul? I would just like to understand from you, Mr. President, what is my place? That is what she asked me. Personally, I must admit, and I have said this, and I said this to this little girl, I am moved on a personal level every time I see the Israeli flag hoisted up on high, because I saw it hoisted on May 15th, 1948, the 5th of Iyar. At the same time, I understood and was pained by this question. And she's not alone. Not even all Jews sing the national anthem, Hatikva. There are Jews who are not Zionists. Don't they have the right to be Israelis? Is anyone or everyone who discusses the issue of Israeli identity a post-Zionist? How can we be able to feel that our Zionism is secure and strong enough to find the place within us to deal with the issue of Israeliness? We are forced to live and contend with this dilemma, even if the time is not yet ripe to find a solution to it. Friends, for so many partners who are willing to look squarely at the tremendous changes Israeli society is undergoing, for those who seek a vision of Israeli hope for all of us, from all the sectors, camps, and communities, I would like to say, Israeli society today finds itself at a crossroads. We see the changes before our eyes, and now is the time to decide where are we headed. The heading of this conference is a shared Israeli hope, vision, or dream. But in truth, the heading of this conference should have been an Israeli hope, to be or not to be. It is evident from the briefest of glances at Jerusalem, the largest Arab city in Israel, the largest ultra-Orthodox city in Israel, the largest modern Orthodox city in Israel, and the second largest secular city in Israel. A city that is much beloved, but also very poor, torn, and strained. Only that one glance is needed to understand that market forces alone and exchanges of goodwill between individuals and educations, as devoted as they may be, cannot deal with the enormity of the challenge. A year ago, there were those who interpreted my words as yet another typical joyful presidential call for sugar-coated unity or a round of discussions for mutual respect. But first and foremost, my words were intended to serve as a wake-up call to the gaps and inadequacies between the reality of Israeli society and Israeli institutions. Israeli society may be changing its face, but it is not changing its awareness. I am concerned that the fundamental systems that organize our lives, politics, the media, academia, the economy, education, and so forth, have not yet internalized these changes to the full extent. They have yet to structure themselves in accordance with the emerging social reality. In the past 2 years, I have met dozens of NGOs and organizations, dedicated academics and educators. I was impressed by the countless meetings and discussions, and still, if we are interested in a genuine and far-reaching change, we must strive for institutional and systemic changes, which must be conducted as a national effort to set goals that can be agreed upon and monitored. Moreover, we must recognize that there are today barriers, material and structural barriers, that obstacles on our path to forming the shared rules of the game for the different sectors. Political sectarianism, which only cares for the concerns of one tribe, politics which is nourished and benefits from extremism and radicalization and serves as a stimulant to the entrenching of tribalism, a public system that has yet to appreciate the changes that Israeli society is undergoing, the challenges of the different communities, which has yet to undergo a process of diversification. And alongside all this is an entire social system based on splitting up the different sectors by city, by media, by economy, and above all in education. In such a divisive system, even market forces will not succeed in creating shared interests. My dear friends, the creation of a shared Israeli identity and a shared Israeli hope is a mighty and noble process which will take many years, perhaps a generation. What is certain is that we will not be able to achieve it without a thorough, in-depth, systemic approach, without institutional changes, some of which I will point to today. As I approach the end of my second year in office, I would like to point, with all due caution, to 4 engines of change, to 4 crucial systems for the creation of partnership, which have the power to pave our way to a timeline of Israeli hope. The first such system is that of the public and civil service, particularly government offices, and the educational system. This is a system which has the power to ensure essential equality between the citizens of Israel from all the sectors, and to strengthen their faith in the state's institutions. This is the system that embodies the practical expression of partnership for all of us in the building of society and the country, and which expresses our shared responsibility for the future. The public system in Israel will serve as an engine for genuine change only if we strive relentlessly for appropriate representation of the public that it serves, in particular the ultra-Orthodox and the Arab sectors, out of an understanding that a non-diverse composition is dangerous and destructive to the public's faith in the system and deals a fatal blow already today to its chances of providing a relevant answer to the public and to its diverse customers. It will serve as an engine for real change only if it turns equality in allocation of resources in all areas of life into its banner and trademark. It can be an engine for real and effective change only after it has learned to match its strategy and all the political tools at its disposal to the individual and characteristic features of each group. The second system includes academia and the job market. If in the past the IDF was the main meeting place of Israeli society, even when those soldiers studied in 4 different school systems. In the new Israeli agenda, like it or not, academia and the job market have become the first place where Israeli society meets itself and one another. The academia and labor market, because only half of Israeli population serve in the army.
They are our admission ticket to the centers of influence in the economy, wherein was first created a social a common space to forge a common language and goals, where the sense of belonging and social status is formed. There, the conceptual richness of human diversity is not a threat, but rather a competitive advantage. The academe and the Israeli work market will become an engine of genuine change only when academic institutions and employers all over will view the establishment of the Israeli dream for a young man from Ofakim, a young woman from Bnei Brak, a young man from Jat, and a young woman from Binyamin as a national mission of paramount professional and economic interests. This willingness to open these gates for the members of the club will not suffice. The academe and the labor market today cater mainly to 2 tribes, but there are 2 additional ones, the ultra-Orthodox and the Arab sectors, that are left behind. The academia and the labor market have yet to speak their language and have yet to recognize their advantages and their abilities. The change will only come when a proactive effort is made towards integration and diversity, only when we're all committed to creating a diverse elite throughout the professional hierarchy. But let us not fool ourselves. This change takes its toll, as by nature the elite wants to perpetuate its status. The change will only come when the professional environment will manifest sensitive and will be responsive to all the existing sectors that operate within it and recognize its responsibility to create a true encounter for all those arriving through its gates. This change in the academic sphere and the labor market is not only a moral imperative for the youth of this country and our image as a society, it is also an economic necessity. Making the most of Israeli human capital and talent, especially from the ultra-Orthodox and Arab communities, is the most important engine for growth available to us and keeps us from a predetermined path of economic collapse. And the third system, which I would like to point out, is one that is still in its embryonic stages. However, it can be used as a significant key towards change, and that is the regional partnership. And yes, the Minister of Homeland Security and the Minister of Interior who've paid attention to that. In other words, the partnership between local authorities from various sectors, between Afula, Nazareth Elite, etc. What appears at a national political level to be a conflict which seemingly cannot be resolved, a zero-sum game between the secular, religious, ultra-Orthodox Arabs and Jews on issues of control and character, budgets and resources, can become an opportunity on a regional level, an opportunity for combining interests and aspirations and for cooperation. The regional development and of the infrastructure development and health services, this improvement in the quality of life, all these are only enabled when working together whilst leveraging the advantages and economy of scale. When my neighbor's quality of life is higher and improved, then the personal safety and security of my community is greater. The necessity for cooperation rises as the interdependence grows. Regional partnership between municipal leaders and regional councils from different sectors is the essential key to structuring leadership and a new political culture which is conscious and aware and sensitive to the characteristics and needs of different sectors. This is the key to reducing alienation and hostility among the residents of the various sectors and the establishment of trust and relationships between them. The regional partnership will serve as a true agent of change only if the trend of institutionalization of regional cooperation will continue and expand between the local authorities based on the regional clusters within a framework which is welcome, which has gained momentum in recent years. I definitely copied it from your lecture. It will become an engine of change only if it is backed by the tools and resources necessary, only if it realizes how to leverage this shared infrastructure for the sake of the familiarization with and introduction to the various sectors in this region from all walks of life, only if it pursues the common good, holding up proudly it as its banner. The fourth and final system, which is both obvious and so challenging, is the educational system. This same system in which our children's awareness, views, and perceptions of the world are molded. The same system in which the keys to our future are embedded. The truth is that, and that for a long time, and though few have reflected on this or even come against it, the education system in Israel is in practice divided into four systems which teach our children different and even conflicting perceptions of basic principles and aspirations for the character of the State of Israel. For some, this is a given status quo situation. For others, they wish this division. We all agree that this reality is not likely to change in the near future. And most of us agree that we cannot ignore the consequences and implications of this reality in education. So therefore, alongside the separation, we must ask ourselves, which tools and skills do our children need to receive from the education system in order for them to grow into citizens who understand the society in which they live and know how to function within? What do we need to give our children in order to reduce the alienation, that hostility, and yes, even the hatred and the prejudices? What do we need to give them today so that tomorrow they will be able to cooperate and work together? To ensure a prosperous Israeli economy, to ensure the security and future of the State of Israel, we must remember that on this new agenda, education towards partnership, towards understanding and familiarity are no longer luxuries or a one-off exotic activity meeting the others, but rather a vital existential need. We cannot continue to perpetuate the existing status quo and raise our children in the darkness of mutual ignorance, with suspicion and alienation. Children who do not speak Hebrew and Arabic and cannot even talk to another or understand each other. The truth is that I fear that in light of this challenge and the complexities, we have over the years given up on education for partnership and coexistence, but we must not give up on it. Education towards partnership can and must be an engine generating real significant change, even within the divided educational system whose role it is to resoundly maintain the individual core and pith and soul and identity of each sector. The educational system will be able to serve as an engine for genuine change only if alongside that we are nurturing the positive identity which is essential and profound for each community if it strives to teach core knowledge to all the different groups that live here, if it provides the skills to debate and include diverse and competing Weltanschauungs, if it provides our children with the languages spoken here, it could become a real agent for change only if it assigns resources and allocates them and implements the systemic and organizational changes so necessary in order to create bridges and forge bonds between the different systems wherever possible in each community in according to their paths and ways, in the training of teachers, principals, and of course among the students themselves. I would like to turn to the Education Minister, Naftali Bennett, and congratulate him on his willingness to face this issue head-on. The most vital system for change is in your hands. It is a historic opportunity in your hands, and I feel certain that you will not miss out on it. Dear friends, the four systems I have here described can serve as engines for significant, meaningful change only with the full commitment and persistent, determined efforts of their leaders, only through a genuine preparedness on all our parts, people from all sectors. It's incumbent upon us to share the responsibility. We should not fear change, because over time we will enjoy its fruits. The more we succeed, these changes will become badges of honor for a brave and resilient society, ready and willing to look directly at the issue pertaining to its character and future, for a society which serve as a model for many others, a Jewish and democratic state. Democratic and Jewish is in one utterance. My dear friends, a shared Israeli hope cannot be the starting point for the long journey ahead of us, but it should be our gift and our legacy bequeathed to our future generations. Over the last 18 months, the President's office has toiled on creating the foundations for Israeli hope, creating a circle of partners and extensive cooperation within the different systems that I mentioned in order to promote and assist this desired change. In the coming years, yes, the President's office stands ready to broaden and deepen these activities, and if this activity should become institutionalized in a designated organizational framework which would work alongside together with these systems to create a plan of action to set goals and monitor the implementation, and the President's office will be a foot soldier in this system. The contribution of this office may be humble, but I believe that it is its goal and the purpose of this residence, this office in these times. I call upon all of you today, join us in this challenge, and we will join you in this challenge. Only thus, together, and with fully fledged partnership, can we renew true hope for Israel.